There's a moment at sea that most people never experience. It's 3 a.m, no land, no engines, no voices. Just wind filling the sail, water moving beneath the hull, and a sky so full of stars it feels like you've drifted into another universe. Out there, the noise of the world disappears. Deadlines vanish, expectations fade, and the only voice left is the quiet one inside your own head. For some people, that silence is terrifying. For others, it's freedom. Today's guest chose that freedom. He left the predictable rhythm of land life and built something entirely different, a life at sea. A life of wind, waves, writing, and reflection. He's a sailor who lives on a boat anchored in Panama, a surfer, freediver, and spearfisherman, an author of thrillers, sailing narratives, and books about sobriety, and a man who rebuilt his life after alcoholism and has now been sober for a decade. From the outside, it might look like an adventure, but underneath, it is all about a deeper question. What happens when you stop living the life you were told to live and start designing the life that actually feels like yours? That's the journey we're exploring today.
This is Doyle. Welcome to Spirit Talk Show, Bedtime Stories for Grown-Ups, the podcast where storytelling meets the deeper currents of life. On this show, we sit down with fascinating people from all walks of life, writers, adventurers, creators, thinkers, and we explore the stories that shape them. The strange ones, the meaningful ones, and the ones that reveal something true about being human. Today's guest is Paul Trammell, a sailor, author, and podcast host who has built a life many people only dream about. Paul lives full-time on a sailboat, currently anchored in Boca del Toro, Panama, where he writes novels, sailing narratives, and books about sobriety. He's the author of more than a dozen books, hosts 2 podcasts, and spends his days surfing, spearfishing, sailing, and writing stories inspired by life on the open ocean. But Paul's story isn't just one about adventure. It's also about transformation, from struggling with alcoholism to finding clarity, discipline, and creativity through sobriety and a radically independent life. In this conversation, we talk about why he chose to live on a sailboat and sail alone, how creativity works when your office is open ocean, what sobriety changed in his life and writing, and how anyone can begin designing a life outside the expectations society quietly hands us. So settle in, maybe imagine the sound of waves against the hull, wind in the rigging, and the slow rhythm of a boat rocking at the anchor somewhere in the Caribbean, because tonight's story begins at sea. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm here in the studio with Howie on my right and Russ is on my left. So if you hear other voices, it's not just me. It's not just me. So we're here, but all right. Thank you. So
you got a whole team over there.
Well, yeah, I got helpers. I think it's just to ride my coattails. I'm joking. So you're docked right now in Panama. Do you travel around or are you permanently docked?
I'm anchored.
Anchored.
So I'm out in open water with some islands around me, anchored. I've been here for 3 years, but for the previous few years, I was nomadic, moving around. And I just found a place I liked and haven't wanted to leave yet. So I could leave at any minute.
Yeah. Okay.
And go anywhere else in the world, but
you're at that.
I love it here.
You've been at that same anchorage for 3 years.
You've been there for 3 years. Yeah.
Cool.
I've been in Panama for 3 years. I haven't been in the same anchorage. I've been moving about a little bit, but most of the time I've spent here in Boca del Toro in the same area.
And
I have sailed around the Caribbean side of Panama a little bit.
I was going to ask you, I'm ignorant about the canal. Can you go through the canal with your boat, or does it have to be a big boat to go through the canal?
Small sailboats can go through the canal. It's a big deal, though. It costs roughly $3,000, and it's a lot of bureaucracy and organization and scheduling. So it's not something you do without a whole lot of planning and intent and expense.
Is just the government of Panama wants you to pay those fees, or is there actually the docks or the locks or something along the way where the fees are?
I guess it's probably the Panama Canal Authority that you pay.
Yeah.
You pay and organize, and you go through a whole bunch of locks, and you have a pilot on board, and you have line handlers on board, and Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what?
I don't really have any urge to go to the Pacific side anytime soon. So I'm happy over here for now.
I think going around the bottom way is probably takes a really long time too.
So are you in a fairly deep water anchorage? Or,
Oh yeah.
Like, are you anchored in
It's
like
30
50?
feet deep.
30. Okay, so it's pretty shallow.
Okay, well, that's not. So you've had a few jobs. You've been a musician, a carpenter, a teacher, a writer. You do podcasts. So what's a common thread connecting these chapters of your life?
Golly, what's a common thread? Well, art, creativity has been my big goal. Most of the time I lived in St. Augustine. I lived in St. Augustine from 97 to 19. So I wanted to be a musician the whole time I was there, and I also wanted to be a painter, and I was a musician, and I also painted oil paintings, and I wanted to make a living at art, however that manifested itself, whether it was music or something else or painting, and now it's writing.
Okay.
So I guess that's the common thread. But I've had other jobs to pay the bills: carpentry, environmental consultant, teacher, realtor, bicycle mechanic.
So you're a surfer too? You do surfing? Do you like surf around the world?
Yeah. I surf. That's one of the main reasons I'm here. Is the surfing is good, and I love to surf. It's what makes me really happy. I'm going to be surfing tomorrow morning. I took today off, but this is the season. The winter months is our season, and I go almost every morning in the winter, and then there's a few months in the summer when it's good too.
So my only experience with surfing is I used to live in Huntington Beach. I know that's a big surf area in Southern California. So I'd see the surfers out like every day. I mean, I've surfed up in Half Moon Bay too, but so great. Well, so right now you're making your living. Sorry, go ahead. I think
Half Moon Bay, you surf Mavericks?
Yeah, a long time ago in early.
No way.
2007, 2008. When I used to run a
cool. You're a big wave surfer.
No, not really. I was more of a wave faller. I tried.
I'll be surfing silverbacks tomorrow. That's our version of Mavericks. That's our big wave here.
So I believe there's a huge place, isn't it Australia or New Zealand, where there's a place that has like huge waves, whereas like the surfers like the place to like it's the Everest of surfing.
Like the Great Barrier Reef?
No, I don't.
Nazaré, Portugal it might be what you're thinking about. That's the biggest wave right now that people are surfing. Portugal, Nazaré.
How big is that
Portugal?
Wave?
Oh, they're getting up close to 100 feet.
Wow,
it's crazy. It's nuts. They tow in. They're not paddling into waves that big. But it's ridiculously big.
That sounds like death. Wow. Well, wow. That's
you could certainly die. Yes, no doubt about it. You can die on a 10-foot wave. It's
So those
guys are superhuman.
So I'm not sure I'm ready for that. Are you? So let's talk about your book. You're making your living right now. Tell us about your book and how that got started and where you got the ideas from.
Yeah, I just released my fourth novel and my 13th book. It's called Identity Crisis. It is a thriller that takes place on a sailboat in the Bahamas, and the idea came to me from my mother. I was in the Bahamas in 2023, the winter of 2023. I was there, and I sail alone. Yeah. And I had somebody told me about a young woman. I mean, not young, younger than me, but not a woman, yeah. a grown woman who was in the area and wanted to get on a boat and sail south. And the person asked me if I was interested in taking aboard a crew, a hitchhiker, a sailing hitchhiker. And I thought, why not? I'll give it a try. So I met this woman, and she seemed all right, and she was. And she sailed with me for a few weeks, and it was there was no problem. It was fine. But my mother asked me to send a photograph of myself every day while she was on the boat, and I was a little confused, but I was like, sure, whatever you want, Mom, Mm-hmm. So months later, I was talking to my father, and I told him this. I said, I don't know why Mom wanted a picture of me every day. I think maybe she was worried about my emotional state with this woman on board. Maybe that was it. And my father laughed, and he said, no, Paul, your mother was afraid that this woman was going to kill you, steal your boat, and impersonate you in texts, so that when Mom texted, "How are you, Paul?" this woman was going to text back, "Everything's fine, Mom," as she sailed away on my boat. So that was the idea for the story, and that's part of what happens in the book. That's kind of happens in the beginning.
Like, she could have taken 10 pictures of you and still sent them for 10 days, right? I mean, it was just
right. Yeah, she could just go back through your photos and send a picture.
Every day. I care.
Yeah,
if your mom
exactly.
was, but you can tell when a picture was taken. But most people aren't that technical. But so
no, moms aren't usually aren't that technical.
Yeah, well,
if I can generalize.
Yeah.
Forgive me, all the technical moms out there listening and shaking their finger at me right now.
Well, I knew a lady who started learning computers in her 60s, and then in her 80s, was an expert. So some people can start late and do well. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's typical. The rule is people of that age don't tend to be good at tech. So, you followed this such a different path from everybody else. I know you. Did this happen? I know you're sober. Did this happen after that, or is that something you always were planning to do?
For a long time, I've wanted to be a writer. In fact, I was on a surf trip, 15 years ago. Yeah, 15 years ago, I was on a surf trip in El Salvador with my brother. My brother's an actor, and he brought 3 of his friends along, and 2 of them were writers. 2 of them were Hollywood writers, screenplay writers, and they were both sitting in beach chairs with their computers out next to a pool, after surfing, typing. And I asked one of them, what are you working on? And he says, "Oh, I'm writing a screenplay for I think it was Mighty Mouse or something. He was writing a screenplay for something, a TV show, a cartoon maybe, I don't know. But he's at work. I'm thinking this guy is at work right now, on a surf trip. He can be anywhere in the world. He doesn't have to be in an office. He doesn't have to be in a building somewhere. He doesn't have to get in his car and drive to work every day. He can be anywhere in the world and get his work done. That's cool. And it's creative, and he doesn't have to talk to anybody. All these things are going through my head. I'm like, that's a cool job. Like a writer.
Yeah.
That's awesome. He's creating something. He's being creative. He's making up a story right now in this beach chair after surfing in El Salvador. That's cool. And I've always written a little bit, but it was after I got sober that I had the right mindset, the right mental clarity to actually begin writing seriously. And my first book was about sobriety. It was about how I got sober, how I quit. And when I saw that book selling, I thought, okay, this is something I need to try, because at that point I wanted to be a sailor, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to make a living as a sailor. Not going to an office building every day.
Yeah.
Traveling around the world, and then I soon read some books by Bernard Matessier, great, excellent writer, excellent sailor, legendary guy, French sailor writer. He sailed around the world and wrote books while he was doing it, and I just thought that's the coolest thing in the world. If I could be a sailor and a writer, if I could sail to cool places and write about them, write books about them, and sell them, and that was my job, that would be the best job in the world. And that's what I'm pulling off right now.
Wow.
And here I am doing it.
Well,
it's a dream come true.
That's great. I mean, I follow your adventurous spirit. My dream is to get one of those converted school buses, because I work remotely now, and I could continue to work and just drive to Alaska and then drive down. I don't know if I want to sail. I had an opportunity to sail in the 90s with on a small sailboat with a guy. It was pretty tight quarters. So I'm not sure I want to sail, but that idea of being on the road and earning a living while seeing a
converted school bus in Alaska.
Yeah, for sure.
That sounds cool.
My dream. But so many people want to do these things. What is it did you think hold people back? So many people have this dream to sail the world, to hike the Great Wall of China. What do you think holds them back?
I think what holds them back is being careful, taking the easy way, not taking risks, fear of taking risks, or responsibilities, or just plain old responsibility, being responsible. People, I don't have any children or I don't have an ex-wife or a wife. I can do whatever I want. I don't even have a dog anymore. I can do whatever I want, and if I die in an accident tomorrow, people will be sad, but nobody's going to be financially in trouble because of it. So I can really do whatever I like, and it's not as big of a risk for me as it is for a lot of other people. But Yeah, what holds people back is fear and responsibility, probably. Yeah. I kind of enjoy a little bit of fear. I am a risk taker.
Mm-hmm.
And, if I can calculate the odds and put everything in my favor, then I'll do it. I don't gamble at all, because I know the math. Like, the odds are never in your favor when you're gambling. So I don't gamble. If there was a way to do it with the odds in your favor, okay, you can count cards. You've got some kind of system. All right, maybe, but I don't, and I'm not interested in that, so I don't gamble. But I'll take some risks, yeah. But I'll prepare for it and put the odds in my favor.
So you mentioned that you crew just yourself. My brother lived on a Hardin 45 for, 10, 12 years, and that would be a rough boat to try and manage on your own. How just so I can envision how large a sailboat are you on?
Mine's 40 feet.
Okay,
not 5 feet shorter than your brother's Hardin, but not too different. I think a Hardin is probably a catch as well, but it doesn't matter. If you can sail anything single-handed, almost anything. I asked another single-hander on a 40-foot boat once before I bought mine. I said, I'm thinking about buying a bigger boat. I had a 30-foot boat at the time, and I said, you're on a 40-foot boat? How do you feel about it? How do you feel about length of boat for single-handers? And he said 40 foot's about as big as you should go. Mm-hmm. So
that's a lot of boat.
I made that my maximum, and that's what I've got. I got a 40-footer, and it's fine. It's not hard to single-hand. You just have to do everything in the right order, and you practice. You sail around and practice reefing and jibing and tacking and heaving to and docking, and you figure it all out. And you just make sure you do things in time, and you do things in the right order, and you keep a clear head about yourself, and you set the boat up so that you have all your cleats and ropes and everything you need in the right place, and you do it. And you go out and practice, and then you take off and you go somewhere. And as you're going somewhere, believe me, you will do stuff because there's nobody else to do it.
Right.
So, do you remember the point where you realized that sailing wasn't going to be a hobby, that is something you wanted to live your life like doing?
Yeah, I do. There were a couple of light bulb moments. One was in December of 2015. It was my first year of sobriety, and I was really craving an adventure. And I did a 5-day canoe trip through the Okefenokee Swamp in southern Georgia, which is a pretty big adventure. You canoe about 8 or 10 miles a day to different platforms, and you camp there. And you're by yourself on these platforms. There's nothing around. There's not even land around you sometimes. You're in a swamp, a huge swamp. And while I was doing that, it was so much fun. I had just a light bulb moment. I was thinking, wow, this reminds me of this is so much fun. I love moving about in a boat. It reminds me of something. It reminds me of sailing with my father as a kid. And then I thought, yeah, sailing. That's what I need to do. That's the big adventure I'm looking for. That's it. That's the biggest adventure that I can do right now is to sail around the world. And I've quit drinking, so I don't have to. Because I wanted to do it many years before. I had wanted to make that my big goal, buy a boat and sail and figured out how to do it. Sail blue water, like long distance, long term, not just to go somewhere and then go home again, like go and don't come back. But when you're an alcoholic, you can't because you can't. I couldn't bring enough beer, and you can't drink while you're sailing,
right? Especially solo.
You might, yeah. I mean, maybe some sailors will have a drink now and then while they're sailing, but you can't just be like getting drunk all the time. It's impossible. So now I was like, okay, now I'm sober. I could do that. So that was one moment while I was canoeing, and then I took the money I'd been saving to buy myself something special with after my 1 year of sobriety. I took that cash and bought a sailing class. And during that sailing class, on like the second day, we got into a 36-foot boat, like a real cruising sailboat, and sailed out the St. Augustine Inlet into the ocean in some wind, in the wintertime when it's like windy and wavy. And I remember steering that boat and thinking, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. This is so fun. This is awesome. I definitely want to do this. And then I got myself signed up as a crew on a boat going from Puerto Rico from St. Lucia. There was a sailor who needed 2 crew for insurance purposes. So I got on that boat and did a 3-night or 3-day, 2-night, 3-day sail from St. Lucia to Puerto Rico, or maybe it was 3 nights. But anyway, on that trip, I realized, like, okay, I'm comfortable. I can do this. This is fun. I want to do it. And then I bought a boat and I sailed her. And then there was a 2-month trip to the Bahamas I did where I realized, like, okay, I'm comfortable long term on the boat. I could do this. I could live on it. And then I started putting the plan together to sell my house and try to make a living on the boat. And it takes a while. When you make a goal like that, it takes a number of years to pull it off. But you start making a plan and you start taking steps. You start taking baby steps towards that goal.
Did you ever have a moment
where
did you ever have a moment where, like, your plan, things didn't go exactly as planned, where maybe you thought, oh, this might not end well? But, like, what happened?
No. I think you broke up a little bit, but I think you're asking if I ever doubted the plan or if the plan ever backfired.
No, I think what he's saying is, have you ever had a moment in the ocean when you thought, oh, crap, this might not end well? And what happened? Yeah.
Oh, in the ocean. Yeah, not too many, but I'll describe one. Yeah. I was sailing back from Canada back to the U.S. In 2022, I spent the summer in Newfoundland, and I was sailing back to the U.S. In September. So it's cold and it's raining, and I'm in the Gulf of Maine. I'm sailing between Nova Scotia and Massachusetts, coming back into the U.S. And there was some what was going on? I think it started with the whisker pole came off the mast. So the whisker pole is this big pole that holds the head sail out. The sail that's in the front of the boat, it supports it when you're going downwind. It holds the clew of the sail out 90 degrees to the boat, sticks out 90 degrees to your direction of travel, and holds the sail out over the water. Just holds it in position while you're going downwind. That came off the mast, so it starts banging around and clashing, banging. And I had to get up and go out there, middle of the night, cold, it's raining, and make it happen, get that thing put away. So the first thing you have to do in that situation is furl the sail, put the sail away. So you basically pull on a line and you can wrap the sail up, and it wraps up around itself around the headstay. So, but there's like chaos going on. So I'm doing it fast, and I do it a little too fast. And what happens is the sheet gets caught up in the sail. So now there's a malfunction in the issue. And instead of the sail wrapping up properly, it wraps up loose. And the sheet, that's the line, the rope that controls the sail, is now wrapped up with it. And it's all locked together somehow, and it's loose, and the wind is blowing. The wind is getting stronger because there's kind of a system moving in. And the sail is vibrating and shaking, and it's vibrating and shaking the headstay, and that's connected to your mast and like the whole rig. The rig is your mast and your mast and your boom and all the stuff that points up from the boat. Is like shaking and vibrating, and it's not cool. It's not a good situation. So I've got to get the sail back out and get the sheet out of the sail. And it's dark and it's raining and it's cold, and I'd rather be asleep, and I'm not. And I'm out there trying to pull this off, standing on the deck of my boat, with my harness on, tied to the boat so I don't fall in, and I'm by myself, and I can't get the line out of the sail. I can't pull it out. I don't know what's wrong. It's like this has never happened. I've never heard of this happening. I don't really understand what's going on, and I'm up there struggling with it, and everything I try doesn't work, and eventually I just go back inside and sit down and rest for a minute and make some coffee and think about it. And I went back out later and tried a few more things, and finally I got it fixed, but it was a heck of a struggle. It was a bad, and the risk there is that all that shaking breaks something and your mast comes down.
And then you're pretty done then.
Now you're out in the ocean with your mast could, worst case scenario, the mast kills you on the way down, or it puts a hole in your boat and you sink. Best case scenario is you get out your 4-inch grinder, your cordless 4-inch grinder, and you cut all the rigs. You cut that mast away and let it go, and start the motor and drive to shore and rescue yourself.
Fall going into winter.
That's probably the sketchiest situation.
Those aren't terribly forgiving seas.
Yeah. So
no, the ocean doesn't care what's going on with you. It'll just keep beating you up.
So the thing about the story that surprised me is well, you said you took down the sail and it was night. So the sail's up at night and you're sailing at night while you're like it's.
You're staying underway while asleep.
While asleep, you're underway while
frequently.
Asleep. Oh, wow!
While solo sailing, I sleep 20 minutes at a time. Never more than 20 minutes.
Okay.
Wow,
So frequently, yes. But I don't do that anywhere close to shore. I was maybe 100 miles from shore at this time. Now you could come across fishing boats out there.
Yeah.
I've got what protection I can against that. I've got the radar on, the radar alarm on. I've got the AIS. That's the best thing. The AIS is a system that uses a radio signal to communicate with other boats, and it lets all the boats that have AIS, which is pretty much all boats now, communicate with each other, share course and speed, and the unit calculates how close we're going to come together, and it sets off an alarm inside of our boats and alerts us.
So I am.
But the answer to your question is yes, you have to sleep, but you only do it 20 minutes at a time.
Okay, so now what comes to my mind is you're out there in the middle of nowhere. What is it like? What's safety like? Is there certain parts of the world where it's more like dangerous, like pirates? I'm thinking of pirates. They're people wanting to do you harm. It's just it's just you out there, right?
Piracy is very rare. There are certain parts of the world where it's more of a possibility. Mm-hmm. In the U.S., in Canada, you don't even think about it. Right now, places people don't sail are Venezuela's been a problem for a while since their economy started crashing.
Oh, yeah.
Roughly under Hugo Chavez. It's been a while now that Venezuela is like a place you don't really want to sail too close to. Places that are in financial dire straits breed pirates. Pirates are basically, I hate to generalize, but they're people that have boats and don't have any other way to put food on the table, and they see us out there and think they can, rob a sailboat. So Nicaragua has a reputation for it. Venezuela, Southeast Asia has a reputation, and of course, the Red Sea around Somalia.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard about that. So let's talk about.
That's it. The rest of the world, you don't even think about it.
Oh yeah,
it's not a threat.
I'm sure it's something that could happen to the rest of the world, but it probably doesn't. So, you've hosted 2 podcasts yourself. Can you tell us about that and what they're about and what are their names?
Sure. Offshore Sailing and Cruising with Paul Trammell is my sailing podcast. I interview sailors. Mm-hmm. We talk about sailing offshore, the same stuff we're talking about right now. And I interview somebody every week, and I've been doing that for almost 300 episodes now, 300 weeks.
Nice.
So that's been a long-going podcast. My other one's called Dream Chasers and Eccentrics, and I started that one about 2 years ago, or maybe 3 now. Good grief, I think it's been closer to 3 now, 2.5 probably. And I started that one just so I could interview anybody I want, not just sailors, but whoever I want to interview. And I interview lots of different people. I do interview quite a few authors on that one because I'm also an author and I like talking to them. Yeah. But a wide variety of people on that one.
Yeah, my show seems to have a lot of wide variety of people, and I do speak to a lot of authors. And I wanted to mention you are talking to creative people. Howie is a musician too. He makes his living as a musician. He owns a quartet.
Oh, great.
He owns a quartet called Fortissimo Strings, and that's how he makes his living. And we're both in a singing chorus. And do you do anything creative?
No.
Well, he has goats. So,
I have goats. My main creativity comes out in the role-playing games you and I have talked about.
Oh, the role-playing games.
I am curious. I mentioned singing here. You are a spearfisher. You still do that? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm an avid spearfisherman. Is
that typically where dinner
I would say
comes
about
from?
I would say about half of my dinners are fish that I speared. I don't have any in the fridge right now because it's the surf season, so I'm not going quite as often. But when the seas are flat, my friends and I go out on the ocean side, the Caribbean side of the islands, to reefs. When the seas are up like they are now, there's places on the inside to fish. But I do. I spearfish a lot. I love it. And I love to eat fresh fish.
What would you say the most interesting, things that people wouldn't typically see in an ice case that you've been able to hit with a spear? And what's like the most delicious thing that if you could find one again, you'd want to?
I love snapper. Snapper. There's maybe 5 or 6 different species of snapper here, and they're all really good. I got a big dog snapper recently. That was interesting. I speared a big dog snapper, and probably a 20-pound fish, and it swam immediately right into it with my spear in it. My spear's connected to a line to my gun on a reel, so I've got like 150 feet of line I can let up. But anyway, it swims right into a little cave. A cave not hardly even big enough for the fish to fit in. It was just panicking, and it wedged itself up into this small cave about 25 feet underwater. And I had to just swim back to the surface at that point. I opened the reel on the gun and let the line out and swam to the surface, breathed. And then for the next 10 minutes, I just dove over and over again trying to get this thing out of the cave, and I couldn't. And my friend Lydia saw me. She was in a boat that was pretty close, and she said, do you need help? I told her what I was doing, and she said, do you need help? And I said, yeah, I could use a hand. So she's a spearfisherman, too. She got in the water and swam over to help me out any way she could. And finally, I got the fish out of the cave, and I was hauling it to the surface, and the line that's attached to the spear gets hooked on the coral, and I only get the fish halfway up, and I'm already out of breath because I've been working, and I have to let go of it, and I know that the spear isn't through it very well, and the fish is probably going to get off, so I swam to the surface, and right away I said, Lydia, get that fish, he's going to get off the spear, and she already knew what the situation was, so she swam down, and I'm up there catching my breath, and she comes back up with the fish. The spear's not in it anymore. So just as I suspected, the fish was about to get free. But she's now got like her hand up in this big fish's gills, and she's got it. She's like, I've got the fish. You get your gun. We'll go back to the boat. So I go back and untangle my line from the coral and get my gun and swim back to the boat. And so she and I, she helped me, and we landed this big fish. And that fish fed me for about 2 weeks.
Oh, it's how big? We're talking about like 20, 30
pounds. He said,
20, 30. Oh, you said
I think it was probably 20 pounds, right. maybe between 2 and at least 2 feet long. Big.
Wow, 2 feet.
Big heavy fish. Yeah, big solid
wow.
snapper.
And from your description, this is all obviously free diving. You're not on a tank. This is all
free diving.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. Yeah. I was going to say.
Yeah. Free diving here in Panama. There's not many sharks here, but I've done a lot of spearfishing in the Bahamas, and if you want to talk about seeing some things, well, you see a lot of sharks there. That's kind of creepy. That took me a long time to get over, being completely terrified seeing a shark, while you're swimming in the water. I'm okay with it now, but it can be scary. Yeah.
Well, it can be. My ex was like diving off like Santa Barbara, and she was really deep down, and then suddenly a big shadow went over her head, and she looked up, and she said it was very scary. It was basically a whale shark. It was a huge, but they're very
cool.
They're kind of docile, but to see something blocking the light from over you and going over you about as big as a bus, was pretty scary for her.
That
for sure.
would be that would startle you a lot to be at first, until you realize it's a whale shark, and then all of a sudden it's like the coolest wildlife sighting ever.
Yeah.
Well, it was probably 30 years ago. I went and spent, I think it was a week or two with my brother down in La Paz when he had his boat down there, and we would just swim into the beaches and things. And I still clearly remember when you're swimming and you're in 40 plus feet of water and you can't see the bottom. I clearly remember the realization that I am not the top of the food chain in the place that I am currently in.
Yeah,
it happened to me
for sure.
I was kayaking like in San Simeon, and I kayaked out really far, and I looked back, and the dock, the pier was like this big. It looked an inch big. That's how far I was. And then something really big breached the water right beside me, and I thought, as I was paddling back, okay, I'm going to die now. I'm going to die in any second. I'm going to die. I was out there. I was really far out, I probably went out far too far.
Yeah.
But I think that's an aspect of the ocean that we don't really get anywhere else. I mean, we are so in control,
right?
At least we think we feel like we're so in control everywhere else. Yeah. But the ocean, like you said before, the ocean doesn't care.
Yeah. Well,
as soon as you step in the ocean, you're back in the food chain.
Yeah, I mean, it happened.
Because there's sharks everywhere.
There was a shark death here in California off Monterey just within months, probably 2-3 months ago. And one of those ladies who do that, those swimming clubs that swim the bay. One of those ladies was attacked and killed about maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago.
Oh my God!
Still pretty vanishingly rare, though.
Yeah, it is very, very, very rare. But people are afraid of sharks. Like, they don't even go to the beach. They're afraid of sharks. And that seems so silly to me. You're standing on the sand.
Yeah.
Why would you be afraid of a shark if you're on the sand?
Yeah, it's an instinctive fear.
Well,
for sure. Everybody seems to have a fear of sharks. Yeah, on the beach, no, you're definitely not in danger. They're not coming up on the beach to get you.
Land shark.
Well, there can be instinctual fear. I did have an alligator situation in the south one time in the river that really shook my...
They'll come out of the water to get you.
Yeah, it really shook... Well, I was canoeing. I was in the middle of the river, and I was jumping in the water, and I got back in the canoe, and literally seconds after I got in the canoe, this alligator, as long as the canoe passes the canoe, right? And I was thinking...
Yeah, he was going to eat you. Dude, for real, that dude was going to eat you.
And I was in the water,
You're lucky.
Like literally 5-10 seconds before I got out of the water. He passed.
Yeah.
And that really is shaking.
He had been stalking you.
Oh
my God.
Yeah, that shook my my love for going in any water I can't stand up in, you know.
Where were you?
It was where was it? It was Louisiana. I was at a summer camp. And the thing about it is they swam there regularly. So, because it was a camp. And the kids sort of swam there. Yeah. But I guess I went a little bit away from the swim area. And I was in the canoe, and it was definitely shook my need to go in water.
I'm terrified of alligators.
Well,
because they will stalk you and kill you and eat you.
Well, I'm more terrified of.
They don't care.
Going to Australia, saltwater crocs are the most aggressive. So, don't like.
We have saltwater crocs here.
In Panama.
Not many of them, but they are around.
Yeah, it reminds me.
They're all over Central America.
Of a Far Side cartoon where these two crocodiles or alligators laying on a beach, upside down, just big bellies.
Okay.
The caption is, "That was amazing. No claws, no fur, no nails, no nothing. Just soft and pink."
Soft and pink. I think the only other place in the world where we feel like we're prey is maybe like where there's grizzlies or polar bears, and maybe up there. So. Well, so Paul, we do this thing on this show. I don't know if you have listened to any episodes, but we do this thing where we research you and we look at all your websites and what we can find out about you. And we write a short tribute story about you, right, and your adventures. So if you'll bear with us for a few minutes, it's a one-page story that Howie's going to read to you right now. So
this sounds like fun.
This is to honor you. And we do have a poem, too, but sometimes we don't get them both in. And also I was going to ask you later.
I'm a poet.
Oh, great. Well, maybe you can read the poem too. Did you have some part from your book, like an excerpt you wanted to read today? I was going to ask you that.
Oh, I could certainly read part of the book.
Okay.
I haven't prepared anything, but I can pull it up pretty quickly and make that happen.
Okay, so here we're going to go. This is the tribute story read by the sultry voice of Howie. I say that now because fans want me to call it the sultry voice of Howie. They love that. I don't know why. Okay.
All right. There's an old belief among sailors that the sea doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you've always been. When you're far from land, there's no crowd to impress, no schedule to obey, no walls to hide behind. Just wind, water, and the quiet conversation between a person and their own life. Paul Trammell chose that conversation. He could have stayed on land like most of us do, building a life out of routines and expectations. But somewhere along the way, he realized something many people feel but rarely act on. The life he was living wasn't quite the life he wanted. So he changed course. He got sober, he picked up a pen, and eventually he set sail. Today his home floats at anchor in warm Caribbean waters. His days are measured not by traffic or office hours, but by tides, weather, and the rhythm of the wind in the rigging. He writes stories from a desk that sometimes sways gently with the waves. He surfs, dives beneath the surface, and sails into horizons most of us only see in photographs. But the real journey isn't across oceans. It's the quieter one, the journey of becoming someone who chooses freedom, creativity, and clarity over comfort and habit. The sea is a demanding teacher. It rewards patience. It punishes arrogance. And it offers something rare in the modern world: silence. In that silence, stories appear. And tonight, we get to hear one from a man who followed the wind until it became his life. Paul Trammell.
So, what do you think of that?
Fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, wow. Did you think
that's a very nice tribute. That's
cool?
It's a unique experience to hear somebody read something like that.
Yes, yeah. We've had a lot of compliments from people. They love these stories. We get the range of reactions I got is tears to, like one guy say like, okay, that was good. Like he obviously didn't care. So, but it's okay. But most people kind of have an emotional reaction like, wow, that's really cool to experience. But
it's fantastic. Yeah, it's you don't get we don't get a lot of praise in our lives, do we? To have someone tell you did something good and you did something right.
I think especially
we don't all, I think most people don't get enough of that, and so to have any bit of that at all is wonderful, and to have a nice somebody actually sat down and wrote something is really nice. So thank you.
That's yeah. I mean, especially men. I don't think men take the time to compliment each other and say, I really like this about you. I like this thing you did. Hey, I'm really impressed by this. So we feel like it's weakness to tell other men that I'm impressed by something or I like something. That's sad. Well, you said you liked the poem, so I think we should read your poem too. And I think you're going to get the less
absolutely
the less sultry voice of Russ is going to read the the poem here. Yeah.
Not quite so furry a contralto, The man who chose the wind. Some men build houses with walls that never move, streets that never bend, days that repeat themselves like the ticking of a clock. But some men hear another call. Not loud, not urgent, just the whisper of wind in a sail that hasn't been raised yet. So they loosen the ropes of ordinary living. They turn their face toward open water where maps grow vague and horizons promise nothing except distance. The sea does not care who you were on land. It only asks this: can you listen to the wind? Can you trust the quiet? Can you keep moving when the shoreline disappears? And somewhere beyond the noise of cities and expectations, a lone sail cuts across the blue. A man at the helm, a notebook on the table, a story forming between the waves. Not escaping life, but finally living it.
Okay, and there's by the way, I will send you this poem and story if you'd like to keep them for yourself. What'd you think of the poem?
Sure. Fantastic. That's wonderful. Again, it's like you said, we don't hear enough praise.
Yeah. Well,
so that just warms my heart.
Well, Paul, that you're doing pretty much what every man dreams of when we're 10 years old, going on an adventure, actually doing the adventure. Getting the backpack and hiking the mountain that we all wanted to do when we were 10, and you're doing it. And I think I'm going to do it. I'm hesitating now because I've got kids, but when they move out, I think I'm going to go on an adventure too. So, I mean, that's a really impressive thing. That's, you've done more than a lot of men have the bravery to do, and that's cool. I think that's why, I definitely wanted to have you on. But I wanted to...
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, is it lonely? You're out there by yourself and just spend days not being with people, or is that what you want?
There's loneliness and there's solitude. And I feel solitude especially when I'm out on the sea. I never feel lonely at all. I feel the solitude. And the difference is solitude is a positive feeling. It's the beauty and the wonder of nature, and to be out there alone somehow makes you closer to it. The times that I've felt loneliness are rare, but those times happen when I'm back amongst people. Or let's say I'm anchored in a town, and I see lights and cars, but I'm out of my boat by myself. So there's people around, but none of them are hanging out with me. Then you start to feel a little lonely. But when you're out at an uninhabited island, or you're out 300 miles from land by yourself, I feel solitude. Never a hint of loneliness.
That's a subtle but profound difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
loneliness comes when there's a chance to be with other people and none of them want to hang out with you. Then you're alone. But when there's no chance of other people being around, then it's like you're connected to nature. You're connected to the big the big universe, the creator, whatever your religious beliefs are, like you're with it. You're closer than you've ever been. You feel it.
That's a
You know,
that is a good distinction, because one of my fears about doing the bus thing is being alone out there, or the van, living in the van, is being alone. Am I going to be able to deal with? But I think I love the solitude, because I like being alone. But I'm afraid, but I'm social too. I like people. I'm afraid. And to be fair, you don't know that those people don't hang out with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, these days you can have Starlink, so you don't have to be all that alone anymore. You know.
Okay. Well, you can be on.
I've got Starlink now. That's what we're talking.
Okay.
That's what we're using right now.
Yeah. I'll have to talk to I always call her my semi-adopted sister.
Yeah.
She drove around in a bus for years.
I want to talk. So I think that's why, because I think when we're talking, there's a little bit of delay in the talking. It's like a second or two. It feels like we say something and you get it like a second later. And I think that's why we've kind of talked over each other a few times. So
yeah, I'm used to that.
If you could send a message back to your younger self before all of this began, what would you tell him?
Don't start drinking. And don't start smoking weed.
Yeah.
Stay sober. That's a mistake. It's a trap. Nothing good comes from it. There's so much fun things to do in the world that don't require that. It makes the boring things fun. You know, drugs make stupid, boring things seem like they're fun.
Yeah.
But they're not. When you take the alcohol away, all of a sudden sitting in a bar is stupid, you know.
Well, yeah, I agree with you.
You take the weed away, and all those dumb movies are just dumb movies, you know, or whatever.
Oh my gosh, Howie's laughing.
It makes you just feel okay no matter where you are in your life, in your world. And if you've got a crappy job in a dirty little apartment, you feel fine with it because you're stoned, you know. You don't want to change. So that's what I would tell myself: just stay sober and chase your dreams. That's exactly what I'd say right there. Stay sober and chase your dreams.
And did you make a living as a musician? You were like a teacher, like a school teacher, or a teacher of music? Or
yeah, I have a master's degree in biology. So for 3 years, I taught biology to undergraduates at WVU. And then for 1 year, I taught algebra and biology to ninth graders in Connecticut.
Oh, wow. I
lasted 1 year. I lasted the whole year, though. But I only lasted 1 year.
That's what I do on the side. I'm a math and computer teacher in high school. That's what I do, my day job, right?
Oh, God bless you.
But I do it for an online school, which is amazing. So it's really cool. That's why I could do it anywhere, right? So that's why I like it.
Oh, cool.
I could go on the bus, you know. My youngest son is turning like 14, so I wanted to stay in the area until he's like of age. My oldest son is off, like doing he's an apprentice plumber, but I feel like I got to stay around for my youngest son for a while. And then I'm
all right. Well, you got 4 years to get a bus and build it out.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm looking at them every day.
So, Paul, what's the
my band used to tour in a bus that was a school bus converted to a tour bus that ran on vegetable oil.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What was your?
I wouldn't recommend the vegetable oil part, but it was pretty cool having a school bus with bunks in it. And,
nice. What was your band's name?
iVibes.
iVibes?
Capital I-VIBES. iVibes.
What type of music?
I think they're still playing in St. Augustine, Florida.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. What were you going to ask?
I was just what's the longest sort of run you've had between ports of call in terms of being just largely on your own, other than accidental encounters with someone who might also be in the same general area?
Yeah, 8 days. I've done maybe 4, 7 or 8 day sails, and I've done a whole bunch that are less than that, but a few days. But 8's the most. Yeah, 7 nights and 8 days.
So if you lost your mast, how long can you go on your engine? Like if you lost it on the 4th day in the middle of the ocean there, how long?
With full tank of diesel, I can run the motor for maybe 5 days straight.
Okay.
Going about 5 knots. So 125 miles a day for 5 days.
Okay.
Cover some distance like that. Yeah. I mean, that's in flat water. Now,
right.
If you're trying to go upwind, you're not going anywhere. Yeah. So you can go downwind or in flat water at 5 knots, but it's going to be reduced all the way to nothing if you're trying to go upwind offshore.
And
Reduced to zero pretty quick.
And there are trade winds, like there are winds that go up towards like Europe, and there are winds there in this corridors that you can go into. I know that there's winds that go up to Ireland, because I always talk about how those trade winds come from the south, and that's why like Ireland is the same latitude as Alaska, but it's not as cold because those winds, those warm winds, like hit it. I'm from Ireland originally, as you probably figured, and that's why like people don't know it's the same latitude as like Alaska, like Ketchikan is the same,
it's way north. Yeah,
and so people don't realize that, but Ireland's not that cold, as cold as it's cold.
Yeah, you got the Gulf Stream bringing you warm water, and like you said, trade winds bringing you warm air. So yeah, you've got an interesting situation there where you're not as cold as you would normally be. Yeah, there are trade winds around the world. There, some places they're more consistent than others, but a lot of places the winds are always going to be somewhat inconsistent. You can't 100% count on trade winds.
Yeah,
but everywhere has a prevailing wind. What we call it, the most common wind direction. But
so how fast can you go?
I've done some sailing in the Caribbean trade winds where you're going down, like from the Bahamas to here, you're going downwind the whole way.
Okay,
and then it's the opposite, trying to leave and trying to go the other way. It's much more difficult.
So how fast do you go when you're in full sail and the wind's hitting you? Is the speed of the wind the speed you go, or do you go faster than that?
No, sailboats have a maximum speed based on their waterline length, which is displacement boats, which are almost all sailboats. Boats that don't plane are called displacement boats, and displacement boats can only go as fast as the wave that the boat creates. Mm-hmm. And that's a mathematical function. It's the same speed as a wave of that wavelength on the water. So there's a maximum speed. So if my boat is 40 feet long, but its waterline length is only about 32 feet, and because of that, I'll never be able to go more than 7.4 knots. The only exception would be if there's huge waves that are pushing me, and I'm getting wave energy pushing me as well.
And I assume
but basically, I'm working with a maximum speed of about 7.5 knots. And when I calculate average speed over a 7 or 8 day journey, I'm usually calculating it to be about 5.5 knots for my average speed.
Okay,
so it's pretty slow.
Well, I mean, I guess
a person can amble that fast. A person can walk that fast.
Yeah,
but it doesn't sound like you're worried about getting where you're going quickly. You're just worrying about enjoying the journey. So
you're sailing. You feel like you're moving along pretty fast. You look at the water going by, and the boat's moving. You feel like you're going. You don't feel, if you're moving along at 5 or 6 knots, you feel like you're making pretty good headway. Yeah, feels good. But now, like a catamaran will go twice as fast, or a modern racing boat. Modern fast offshore racing boats, they might be going up to 30 knots.
Well, I mean,
but that's because they're planing. They have huge sails and they're planing. They're built like a surfboard. They're not displacing water. They're skipping across the surface. Wow. And even the more modern sailboats are foiling now, getting up out of the water.
Oh wow! I mean,
but not me.
So
my boat was built in 1972.
A nice solid monohull.
I was built in 1972.
Right.
I was built in 1972. So,
all right.
Yeah, so I'm as old as your boat.
Rock solid.
So before because we're getting pretty close to having to go to our next interview, but let's do all the plugging of your stuff. Let's tell where we can get your book and the title again, and where we can hear your podcast, and where people get in touch with you. Let's do all that stuff.
All right. Yeah, I have a website called paultrammell.com, PaulTrammell.com. You can find everything there. My latest book is called Identity Crisis. That's available through Amazon, paperback, ebook, audiobook, hardback. I've recorded most of my books as audiobooks. So I've written 4 novels. I've written 4 sailing nonfictions. I've written 2 books about alcoholism. And I've co-written 3 more sailing books. My podcasts are Dream Chasers and Eccentrics and Offshore Sailing and Cruising with Paul Trammell.
So this book, Identity Crisis, just released in March, right? It just released recently?
Yeah, March 1st.
Wow.
Yeah.
It says on your website, available on pre-order now. It says release is March 1st, so maybe that needs to be
I got to update that.
Update it. It says
Thank
release.
you for letting me know. It's right. Yeah, pre-order time's over. Now it's order time. Yeah, you get it.
So I do have one
You
last
can
question.
read it right now.
Last question.
Sure.
Were you born Trammell, or did you pick that last name? Because I know it from untrammeled wilderness. Did you? is that your
No, I
birth
didn't.
name,
I
or?
didn't pick that name. No, I don't know who picked that name, but it wasn't me. No, that's how I was born.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, that is your
That's
last
my
name.
family. That's my father's. That's my father's last name. And
Is your
his
brother
father's last
Sam?
name, and my brother is Sam Trammell.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I think I've seen him on True Blood and a few other things.
Yes.
Yeah,
He was
wow.
Sam Merlot, the shapeshifter on True Blood.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's in a show right now called The Gray House. He's playing President Jefferson, the president of the Southern Confederate States. Is Jefferson? I might have the name wrong, but he's the president of the Southern Confederate States in a series right now on Amazon Prime called The Gray House.
Well, that's good. That's great.
Jefferson Davis. That's his name, Jefferson Davis.
So your family is
President.
like your family is blessed. You have a brother who can make a living as an actor, and you can make a living as a podcaster and writer. You guys really step out and like achieve what a lot of people can't. So that's awesome.
Well, my brother was a great inspiration in that respect. Yeah, he's older than me, and when he made it as an actor, I thought, well, I've got the exact same DNA as him. I can do whatever. If he can be an actor, I can be a sailor writer.
Yeah, I mean, does he?
Yeah, big inspiration.
Wow, that's great. Well, hey, so what is your, if people are listening, I always ask the guests, and I always catch them off guard here with, what's your advice to people listening? What should people know? What should people do? What should people believe? I mean, not that you need to tell people what to believe, but what's the piece of advice you'd like to give people?
Well, believe in themselves, step out of your comfort zone, do something awesome. Go for it. Take baby steps, make a plan,
Great. Wow.
get it done. Chase your dreams.
As you have, and I believe I will too. So maybe I'll see you on the road. Well, you'll probably be in the water, but maybe you'll go on the road at some point. But thank you so much for coming on, and we will get in touch with you about the next steps. When it gets released. Is there some time? Is there something you're releasing soon that would be advantageous to release this episode before the regular schedule?
No, it's going to be another year before I release another book. I'm working on a science fiction short story book right now. Oh, and I publish short stories once a month on my Substack page.
Okay.
That's the newsletter link on my website. Yeah. If people like to read short stories, you get a free one every month.
And again, that was paultrammell.com.
No, whenever you want to publish is good.
Yeah, so go.
My Substack is paultrammell.substack.com, and it is the newsletter link in the footer of every page of paultrammell.com.
So,
it's
okay.
something free. You just sign up your email, and you'll get a short story from me every month. And
Wow.
I don't
Hotmail
market
address.
your emails or
A
sell them.
Hotmail email address. You're showing your age there, babe. Hotmail email address. It's like AOL.com, right?
Oh, yeah. That's right. Hotmail.com. No, I'm not old enough to be AOL.com.
Yeah, it's usually people
Hotmail.com.
70 plus have AOL.com email addresses.
Yeah, I mean, I am old enough. I just wasn't hip to the internet right away. I'm not hip enough. I was not an early adopter to computers or the internet.
Well, I certainly was. But hey, thank you so much. So, of course, people can go to, again, Paul Trammell. That's Tramm. Oh, let me make sure I can.
ELL.
ELL. I thought there was an N there. My eyes are not working well. .com. Like, you want to say the whole website again?
PAUL, Paul Trammell, TRAMMELL.com.
And go get his newsletter, his Substack, to see the short stories, the sci-fi short. Are they sci-fi short stories you're sending every month?
Lately they've been sci-fi. Sometimes I write about sailing, but usually it's been sci-fi. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's your favorite
I
part of
enjoy writing
sci-fi?
that.
Is it like time travel or aliens, or what's your favorite theme?
I like to make up a new technology and write about it, or write about or predict some sort of technology and then write about issues that might bring about, whether I made it up or not.
Like AI?
Or take an existing technology and create a new issue from it. Like my latest story is about a ghost that figures out how to speak to somebody through their Alexa, and then has demands they're making. They have something they want this person to do before they give him his Alexa back.
So funny. I was getting ready, and I thought, like, wouldn't it be funny if ghosts started talking through these machines and we didn't know? Like, they're supposed to be artificial.
Yeah, right. They're
supposed
maybe
to be
they will. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm writing about.
maybe it's not really artificial intelligence we're listening to. It's the intelligence of people who are gone. Wow, that's a cool concept. But
yeah, I mean, that could happen.
If you. But thank you so much for coming on, and I really appreciate your time and thank you. Do you guys have anything?
No.
Okay.
It's good talking to you, Paul.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure being on your show.
Okay.
It's an honor.
Thanks, Paul. I'll get in touch with you soon.
Calm seas.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Calm seas, yeah. Paul Trammell, thank you for joining us on the Spirit Talk Show. And to everyone listening tonight, whether you are driving, walking, maybe lying in bed, as the day winds down, remember this. Every life holds a story worth telling. Sometimes all it takes is courage to follow the wind. Good night. Now, go make a story worth telling.